I am with one of the most recognized faces, I would say, in social media, especially in correlating to TV. So I will let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
What's going on, guys? It's I'm Quentin Latham here. Most know me commonly as Funky Dineva. Friends call me Q. You can use all three of them, but it is me. He is she. I am them. All those good things in between. Yeah, it's me.
Awesome, awesome. So, as I mentioned, you have had a long career when it comes to social commentary, television, especially when we get into the space of how reality TV became the way of the world.
Yeah.
I personally remember you as, I'm not gonna say dragging because I don't want to make it seem like
Uh-huh.
that, but exchanging words on those first couple of seasons with on Love and Hip Hop. You and Jocelyn's relationship will always be.
Uh-huh.
To this day, I use some of those. So it was amazing and great to see someone not on the cast interact with people because you were the voice of the viewers. You were the
The
ones
other people,
who
yeah,
said what we
yeah.
were thinking. So that's amazing. And to see you grow in those
Thank
spaces
you.
has been amazing. So give us a little bit of your background of how you even got into space to where, we went from, Love and Hip Hop on the screen to
Uh-huh.
you being the screen.
So it's so funny that you say that. So everybody, that doesn't know, I'll give you a quick version. I was a boring corporate accountant. And at work, I used to sit at work and just run my mouth on social media. I ended up getting fired from my job one day. And instead of going out and looking for more accounting work, I said, you know what? This blogging thing, people seem to like it. Let me just try this while I'm on unemployment. And I started making videos. Well, I was already making videos, but just as my personal diary. Once I got fired, I said, let me try and see if there's something to this video thing, if I can get it to make money. Because at the time, 13 years ago, there was no such thing as a YouTuber, a social media influencer. Those words and those terms did not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I was making like maybe $50 a month on YouTube just doing random videos. And when I got fired from my job, I said, you know what, let me try this thing out. If I can get these videos to make $1,500 and my unemployment check is $1,500, that's $3,000 a month. I can try to figure out how to live off of it. And within 6 months, I was on VH1 doing the first Love and Hip Hop reunion because Love and Hip Hop had just come out. And I was just, again, there was no rule book or example for what I was doing. I was just a regular, everyday person reacting to this television show, and the producer saw it, and bam, season one, I ended up on the Love and Hip Hop reunion, and literally ever since that day, my career day after day has just grown and grown and grown and blossomed into what you see today.
That's amazing. And that's just a testament to like, you know what, if I'm gonna take a chance on something, I'm gonna do it. There's
I just
no
live.
like, because the only fail is not trying.
Well,
So
I didn't have shit at the time. I was fired. I was broke. I was about to get
couldn't go
evicted,
but
and
up.
then about to repossess my car. So I was like, I might as well try something new. I don't have shit. So
And that right there is another reason why I think you've been such a joy to kind of grow because you've always been transparent. You've always been, there's never sometimes when we get into the reality space, especially with some of the reality stars, what is put out is not what's real. And of course, that could be used as ammo whenever you're in the space of like this reality social world. But you've been able to, you kind of remove that yourself. So it's like, again, y'all can't use something against me if I've already
one of
exposed.
my favorite sayings is, "Don't you ever let a bitch spray you with your own tea." You know what I'm saying? And it's like you neutral, you neutral. If I already put it out there, you can't cut me with it. What else you got? You know what I'm saying? And I live by that. Don't you ever let a bitch spray you with your own tea. And it's funny that you mentioned that in the reality space, so many of those people that you see on those screens, and why my role is so important, is that they fake and front so hard for the camera that when things happen in their lives, it creates fodder for the blogs and for the YouTubers. And honestly and truthfully, had they just lived transparently, I literally wouldn't have a job. Thank y'all. But if they live transparently, bloggers, commentators, news reporters, we literally would not have a job.
So keep up the curtains, because
Thank you.
so I do want to talk about that as far as like, you started, like you said, within 6 months you were working with Love and Hip Hop. And that was like the first time that reality television had captivated a urban audience. And that was the first time that we saw like this whole cast of Black people on there. At the time, I think the most color we had in diversity for reality television was like on Housewives of Atlanta.
That was it. Yep.
So to have Mona Scott come out with something like this, and then also include people of different, I would say, sexual origins, genders, and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. That was a big thing, especially when it came to the commentary space.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we saw you go from that to where it could have been pigeonholed. It could have been just saying everything directed towards urban media.
Mm-hmm.
But then we saw you roll to Bravo, and you walked in Andy's
Mm-hmm.
space for a little bit. You got that. So
Mm-hmm.
how was that transition? Because then you started to become a part of the captivation that was reality. So like people, all walks and lives and races began to recognize you, for what you did.
I'm smart. You know what I'm saying? I'm book smart. I'm articulate. I can navigate corporate spaces, and as Black people, oftentimes we are multifaceted. You know what I'm saying? It's weird because love and hip hop, in my opinion, is who I am and we are when we're at the family reunion. And Bravo is who I am and who we are when we have to be in those corporate workspaces and we have to code switch and be a certain person to get a certain result. So for me, it definitely wasn't difficult. It was just a natural extension of who I am and who we have to be oftentimes in this big white world. But it was also important that, again, when I started, I had no examples. And of what to do, but I had enough business sense to know that this is new, this might end. I need to diversify as much as possible what I'm doing. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even, for the first 5, 6, 7 years of even doing this, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I just knew I was gonna have to go back to work in corporate because I was like, this is too good to be true. Like this bubble is gonna burst. This is not a real thing. When I started, the only examples I had was B. Scott. He was doing some stuff in the YouTube space. The Scorpion Show was doing some things, and literally, and I'm not being shady, and I'm not trying to purposely exclude anybody. Those were the only two YouTube social media personalities that came across my radar. So again, I don't think any of us at that time knew what we were doing. And if I was to sit here and be like, I was so strategic, I would be lying to you. I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. But I just knew that while this thing was gaining traction, that I needed to be as diverse as possible and show people as many sides of me as possible. Yes, I can be ratchet and speak Ebonics and do all of those things, but I can also be more pulled up and use proper English and so on and so forth. So that was always important to me, and it definitely has served to my benefit career-wise 13 years later.
Were you ever nervous that there was going to be some sort of like, I would say pigeonhole or stereotyping because, we were introduced to you, wearing a wig and with certain antics? Was that part of the strategy? Did they get to a point to where like you were ever scared like that's all people would have ever wanted from you?
No, believe it or not, that's where I was comfortable. But believe it or not, and it's because, again, I hate to keep going back to this. All of this was new. The wig and the drag character, that was armor for me, right? You know what I'm saying? So people come on, oh, you so ugly. You just want to be a woman. You da 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 da. I know you ain't talking. And they would just spew some of the nastiest things. But believe it or not, because I had this armor on, I could just laugh because I was like, you're not even talking to a real person. You are talking to a character. I know you ain't talking. You be walking around Atlanta with them tight ass wigs on. Actually, I don't. Like, this is just something that I put on for the
I came in with the bag because it was
so this is not even a real person. And so what it did is that it gave me armor, right? But I always studied Tyler Perry. And Medea opened doors for Tyler, but Tyler is who was able to take it to the next level. Yeah. And so I wasn't worried about being pigeonholed, but it did get to a point where I was like, okay, this is a real thing. It's a career. How do you take it to the next level? And I knew that Quentin Latham could get in places that Funky Dineva could not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't go on CNN and do commentary looking a hot damn mess with wigs on and red lipstick. I can't go in all of these other spaces. And so the decision to take the wig off was conscious, but it was twofold. It was I had to make sure that once I was ready to give the world the real me, take that armor off, that I was going to be able to take the bullets and the darts that were thrown at me, because now you're talking to me for real. I don't have that armor anymore. And then secondly, yeah, it was like, okay, it's time for you to elevate this thing and take it to the next level. You're also smart. Yeah, you're funny and you can do the ratchet thing, but people need to also understand that you went to college, that you're smart, that you can speak on an array of topics. And that is what weighed the most heavily in my decision to switch it up and come up out the wig. Because now these days, I only kind of do the wig and the drag character if I'm booked to do a club appearance or something like that. But for the most part, this is now what you get.
And we saw that, even more as you transition from, more so the reality TV space to now you go, this is when we see you on Fox Soul. And you're more so in the actual anchor space. You're, with other people who have careers that are founded in news or some kind of other journalism. So tell us about that transition. And then I want to also talk about the transition out of that, because that's your real ownership and your creativity came back into play.
Yeah. So, the Fox Soul thing was an amazing opportunity. A lot of people know the story. I mean, it literally happened. It was serendipitous. We were all hanging out at Cynthia Bailey, Real Housewives of Atlanta's wedding, laughing in a corner. Long story short, Claudia Jordan went back to Fox Soul. She was already working there. I was like, I think I may have something with this group of people. We did one episode as guests. The higher ups at Fox Soul saw it and they were like, that could be a show. 1 hour later, after being guests, they offered us a show, and I was over there at Fox Soul for 3 years. And it was an amazing opportunity because it was a step forward to where I always wanted to go. When you're in this social media space, the TV girls always look down on you. Oh, you're just a YouTuber. Oh, you're just a social media influencer. So your goal always becomes to try to get to TV because, we all seek validation in one way or another. And it's like, when I landed the Fox Soul gig, it was like, yes, like all my hard work is paying off. I see some forward motion. I got the words Fox in front of my name. Like, this is amazing. Oh my God, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do that. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, having any big network or brand behind you definitely gives you a level of validity that being an independent artist or whatever that you don't have on your own. So it was a great opportunity. I loved it. And again, I was able to do that because I was strategic enough to transition out of the wig and just show the world and the powers that be that I'm, articulate and I can speak on an array of things. But then, as with anything, you got to know when to hold and when to fold. And you also have to know when it's time for you to move on to greatness. And, my decision to exit Fox Soul, it wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't a hard decision. It was just one of those things where we live in a world now, to be honest with you, that you really don't need a label. You really don't need a network. And because our show was occupying a space that I was already well versed in, which is the digital space, I already know what the money looked like in this space. You know what I'm saying? I know what it looks like and I know what the potential is. And when you start getting your paycheck and you're like, ooh, this is great, but I can do even more than this on my own. You know what I'm saying? And no one's really telling me anything about where this is going, then it's like, you know what? It's time for me to go and just do it on my own and keep all the money. And that's literally what went into my decision to go on to Fox Soul. It was to exit Fox Soul. It was always presented to us that, the show would be moving to television. And listen, in my mind, Wendy Williams was gone. The Real was gone. The Breakfast Club was in flux with Angela Yee leaving. Page Six was gone. I was like, oh my God, there's this huge void in television, and our show could be the next one. Like, I honestly thought, hoped, prayed, and wished that we were going to be coming on TV at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock where the real used to be, or in Wendy Williams' spot. And it may still happen for those guys, but for me, it just wasn't happening fast enough. And whenever I would inquire about what's going on, no one had anything to say. So no one could provide me the answer. So I was like, it really doesn't make sense for me to assist someone else. It doesn't make sense for me as an independent to assist a network build up a platform in a space where I already dominate. It just didn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? So what I love about my exit is that they understood over there completely is no bad blood between me and Foxhole. It was just business, and they got it. And it wasn't an easy decision to walk away from a guaranteed $250,000 a year. But I'm glad that I did, because the payoff was immediate. I ain't got to listen to nobody. I clock in and clock out when I want to. I ain't got to share nothing with nobody. I ain't got to run something across 3 other people. And it just further validated that whole follow your gut instinct thing. You know what you got and believe in yourself. And that's where I'm at with it.
That's so funny, because that's actually been, I've heard that from a lot of people who work in the digital or reality space, especially like even with, I think Candy kind of mentioned that was a little bit of her reason for leaving Housewives, because she said, y'all slowing up my money because I have to wait on you all to, if I want to start a new project, I got to wait till cameras get there, and that might be next season. And by the time that project might be gone. So, but one thing you did, you still kept your name. You still kept Funky Dineva. So now you're able to own everything, and we see you growing, jump back into or expanding more back on your YouTube space. So Funky Dineva Live, tell me about that. And I see you hosting, what is this, Freight?
First Ladies Afraid.
Yeah, Queens Afraid. So tell me about that, to where now it's almost like, not so much taking a step back, but going back into what built you and expanding.
Listen, I'm so glad that you said that. Very valuable lesson that I learned. You never abandon the bridge that brought you over. All right. And this has been the second time in my life that, you know what, I've had to turn to that bitch, Funky Dineva. You know what I'm saying? I've had to turn to her. Like, once happened some years ago.
You keep the wig in the drawer?
It's a wig right here. Baby, it ain't never a wig.
Oh, she read.
She read. I got my Princess Layla wig. Listen, I got all my wigs. The wig ain't gonna never be too far.
Are we gonna get a Funky Dineva wig brand?
I mean, you know what? It was funny, because when I first was like heavily into these, that was actually something that me and a team were working on. But the thing is, I don't think any business will ever prosper if you're not truly passionate about it. And when I started like learning about the stuff, I was like, Q, you're not interested in this hair stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just
it's a lot.
I don't 4B, 4C, 3.
We'll leave it to Vivica. Leave it to Vivica.
Right. I was like, this ain't what you do. And I was like, in theory, it sounded great. But then it was like, Q, is anybody really? You're not a beauty girl. You look a mess when you have the wigs on. Is anybody really going to buy hair products from you? And then what it would have taken, I would have had to transform into this other person.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot.
And no shade to anyone, but I'm not a true drag queen. I'm not transgender. I'm not, female presenting. I'm not even interested in beauty and hair for real. So it just didn't make sense. So,
but it's a cute idea. It's a cute idea. But
it was cute. Now, if it was one of those things where somebody would have been like, we got this wig brand, we want you to be an ambassador. All you got to do is show up once a month and do photo shoots, and we'll give you 10% of the proceeds, and you ain't got to do shit. And I'm still willing to do that.
We're gonna put that out there.
Listen. I would have. But what did you ask me before we got off track? Really quickly about the
no, I just want to talk about you going back into your brand. Like,
going back, yeah. It's weird, because I had to apologize to Miss Funky Dineva, because I somewhat abandoned her to go do the Fox Soul thing. I wasn't, as devoted, because again, always looking for the next best thing. This is my opportunity now. We finna go to TV. So you neglect this, and it's funny, and it's almost shameful, because then when it doesn't work out, you have to run back. You know what I'm saying? You have to Sorry, Miss Funky Dineva. I'm sorry I abandoned you, girl. You know what I'm saying? But what it taught me is that you never abandon the bridge that brought you over. And I can honestly, hands down, say, no matter where and what I do in my career, I will never abandon being a YouTuber, owning the Funky Dineva brand, because number one, it's giving me leverage when I go into business meetings. It's giving me that power to be like, baby, what you offering? What you are? A lot of people would never have walked away from $250,000 because they couldn't. A lot of people will never see that type of money in their lives.
Especially in the space they think is it, you know?
Right. You know what I'm saying? Then it's a network, and it ain't some bootleg network. It's Fox Soul. You know what I'm saying? But it's funny because I have nurtured this baby for 13 years, you know, leaving wasn't that hard of a decision because I said, okay, this much hours, all I got to do is XYZ to make this 250 that I'm walking away from. And it's not a big deal. It's not going to take 90 hours a week of my time or whatever the case may be. So that being said, I've come to realize, and this is advice for anybody out there, having your own platform, coming to the table already with a fan base, an established reputation, years worth of content, it gives you all the leverage, power, control, and comfort. And I'm gonna be honest with you. And I'm gonna be totally honest with you. If I never get offered another job from any other network or any other platform, I honestly do not care. Because I'm living the life that I want to live. If God came down right now and said, Quentin Antoine Latham, I will never give you anything more than what you have right now, baby, I'm good. I live good. I drive good. I eat good. I have a very soft life. I'm content. I'm comfortable.
I love that. So, and since you've been able to do that, do you feel now there's a freedom as far as, you know, how you approach your audience now? Because, you know, even working for news outlets, we're very clear on saying these thoughts are my own.
Right.
They don't reflect it. So do you kind of find yourself now like you get to go back into the mess that built Funky Dineva?
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because you're right. You know, when I was at Fox Soul and some other platforms, there was always that one producer here that's like, oh, you're skirting close to the edge, you know, and it's weird because what was the underlying foundation of my brand was the simple fact that I was the inner voice in most people's heads. You know, and most of us are socialized and indoctrinated to play nice, and we're not supposed to say certain things about people because it's just socially not acceptable. But we all be thinking it. And going back, there is a level of freedom and latitude that you have just being an independent, that you don't have to worry about legal departments, so on and so forth. And then plus two, I ain't got enough money for nobody to be trying to sue me anyway, so it'd be wasting their damn time. You
ain't gonna Tasha K me, baby.
Right. I mean, you can. You know what I'm saying? Like the networks, they got money to lose. I'm here to tell you, you gonna waste your time trying to sue me, baby, because I ain't got it.
So what do you talk? Because that's one thing you, as controversy some of your takes can be, especially because you were the one that's not afraid to at the girls at all. You've built this weird relationship with some of them to where it's like they know either how to build a banter with you and come back at you. Like I implore everybody to go see you and Tamika Foster's latest work.
Oh, have mercy. I was just talking about that with somebody on the way over here. Go ahead.
But you've been able to build this relationship to where, like you said, you were over there at Cynthia's wedding. You know what I'm saying? Like, so tell me about Funky Dineva Live, and then talk to me about, you know, being that inner, going from just that inner voice to being like in that inner circle, because that's a lot different.
So it is. And let me tell you something. It honestly and truthfully, it's the most challenging part of my job. And actually, I am at a place in my life right now where I'm kind of not accepting any more celebrity friends, right? Like I'm just not, because it makes it difficult. You know, Atlanta was a very small place. And don't get me wrong, YouTubers, bloggers, vloggers, content creators, these celebrities, production companies, producers, reality TV stars, they watch your stuff. They love to hear the feedback, and they love us when you're talking positively about them. and shading whoever they don't like. Oh, that's when they love you the best. But then, as with anything, those tables always turn. Now you have a jacked up season. You're going through a divorce, or you're going to jail, or you lied about something, and now it's your turn to catch this smoke. You know what I'm saying? And it gets ugly because you go 2 or 3 years of hanging out with someone, going to drinks, meeting them at a party, meeting them at a movie premiere, and so they think we're friends or we're associates or we're friendly. And we are, but you did some fucked up shit and it has to be talked about. Or now my brand is tarnished because people know that you and I are friends. And they're like, well, you rolled out on this person. You're not going to say anything about this person. And most of them understand at this point because a lot of the people that I talk about and deal with, they were actually coming up. Me and the Housewives, me and the Love and Hip Hop people, we were all coming up at the same time. I'm 13 years in. Love and Hip Hop is 12 or 13 years in. Housewives is 15 seasons in. So we were all learning this space at the same time. I've gotten cussed out by a few. I've got a few that don't talk to me no more at all because they just can't take it. They just don't understand it. But one thing I can honestly say about me, and all of them can say about me, you've got what I know from watching the show, and you've got what I know from being your friend or being in your personal company. And nobody can ever say that anything that I acquired information-wise came from our personal interactions. And I think that is why I've been able to maintain a lot of relationships with people because they know me from hanging out. They know he just talking about that stuff on that show. He just doing his job because he knows the real deal. And if he really wanted to maim me, he could. I'll never forget, I have to give credit to Sherry Shepard's executive producer and friend of mine, John Murray.
Okay.
He said to me very early on, he said, the true mark of a blogger is not what you tell, it's what you don't. And that has truly stuck with me because I know a lot from being in the inner circles, you know what I'm saying? But I think people respectfully still allow me to come around because they're able to separate the work and the comedy from real life. Like case in point, me and Candy Burris one time, Candy was like, I get it. She said, I just got one ass. She said, please don't talk about my kids and please don't talk about my mama.
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's great. You know, that's a great balance. I can assure you, I won't talk about your kids. And even though Mama Joyce did some stuff, I'll be cool.
We can talk around it. We can talk around it.
You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, Mama Joyce didn't have to throw that shoe at Karma. You know what I'm saying? She was wrong, but I'm not going to go in on Mama Joyce. You know what I'm saying? So, you just adapt those level of whatever. And then, I've got some situations where I'll never forget. I did a Housewives review one time where Peter and Cynthia were living together, and then Leon came to visit, and they was all sleeping in the house. And I'm going off, and I'm like, child, Cynthia in there, she probably a home and child sleeping with both of them or whatever. And like Peter and Cynthia legitimately called me on the phone, and they were like, Q, that just was not cool. Like you're calling me a whore, and like we're your friends. Like that's just not cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn friend, you right. I'm sorry. And they're like, yeah, so, it's a juggling act. It's a balancing act. But, child, I'm getting too old to juggle and balance. So at this point, I'm just not taking no new celebrity friends so I can go in on everybody.
Well, tell us about, before we go, tell me about Funky Dineva Live and your industry show, how people can catch it, what they can expect to see, and just everything you're working on now.
So for me, everybody knows I hate to work, right? But I hate working. They don't know. Funky Dineva, I call her a rich white woman because she wakes up every day and she don't have to do nothing. She is a lady of leisure. But my body, after doing Fox Soul for 3 years and then doing it for a season or half a season, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, my body was already used to sitting in this chair every night at 8 o'clock. And then it was like, okay, Q, you walked away from this job and you got to figure out a way to replace the income that you left on the table. And you know what? Since your life is already adapted to you sitting in this chair at 8 o'clock, why not just continue? Your body's already used to it or whatever. So Funky Dineva Live is just me. doing what it is that people have always known me for, which is being in the urban pop culture commentary space, basically on a daily basis, consolidating the going ons of the day into a nightly talk show. I do it Monday through Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. We sit here for an hour. It's live, it's interactive, we chat. Tuesdays now is shaping out to be Talent Tuesdays, where we have different celebrities and stuff. My publicist and I, we've been working, garnering a lot of attention from a lot of people who just want to come on because they know that my platform, they can come keep it real, talk about what they need to talk about, and we get it in, laugh, and kiki. So what I like about the show is that it's very interactive. It doesn't feel like you're watching a program. It feels like you're a part of the program and you're a part of the community. And we just go back and forth. We get our drinks. It's very informal and we have a good time. But it is that kitchen table talk that I think happens in a lot of households around celebrity gossip and entertainment.
Awesome. Awesome. So last thing we're going to do with this, and you're actually the first one to do this with me. I'm going to play a little game of rapid fire because I can't let you go without hearing.
This is going to get me in trouble. Go ahead.
So we're going to start. 1, Love and Hip Hop or Real Housewives?
Real Housewives.
Real Housewives of Atlanta or Real Housewives of Potomac?
Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Nene Leakes or Phaedra?
Nene Leakes.
What was my other one? Let me go through my Bravo or VH1?
VH1.
Why?
No shade. The only thing great that's come out of Bravo is Real Housewives of Atlanta and Real Housewives of Potomac, as far as we are concerned.
Okay.
With VH1, you've got multiple cities of love and hip hop. You've got Basketball Wives. You've got, Flavor of Love. You've got, just when it comes to urban culture, VH1 is where a lot of it has sat.
Would you rather buy a wig from Kenya or Kim?
Kenya, hands down. Kenya, hands down. Kim Wigs probably got lights in them.
She showed her real hair yesterday, so Kim said, "Y'all not gonna play with me."
Is it long?
It was pretty. It really was. I mean, the husband might be losing his hair, but evidently hers. Right. And so, thank you so much. I appreciate this. This is amazing. Thank you so much.